What's up guys, welcome to another video by me. What's up guys, welcome to another video by me, Tacos. I'm finally back and it's been about a year since I last uploaded. But, you know, I'm back now. So basically what I've got for you today is a system I just came up with when I was making a horror game, and I thought, sure, this will be fun to make a video on. And I didn't actually end up using this in the game. I mean, it's still in development, but I'm not sure if I'm actually going to use this. But, you know, I might as well give it to you guys for free. So, yeah, let's just get right into how it looks. So basically, as you can see, I've placed some proximity prompts in a variety of different objects. So if we start with the middle ones, these are what I would classify as the normal ones. So as you can see, you kind of you can preview the object basically. And I thought this would be kind of cool in a horror game or like any other game really. But yeah, it's a pretty simple thing, but it looks kind of cool. And yeah, so here are some of the normal objects that are just previewable. And then we have these, just another example I came up with. For example, if you have a tool, you can pick it up, you can look at it, and then you have it. And as for this one as well. And then lastly, I also, you know, while I was at it, I added a function to like have a text, a description, and a title. And for example, this one, no letter. Yeah, so let's just get right into how you're supposed to set this up and use it. So here we have a new blank project that I just created to show you guys how you can just implement this into your game. So basically, you're going to the description and get this model which I have created, and you will just import this, and it says it has 16 different scripts, but that is basically because for easiness sake for you guys, I have one script in each of these items. What I would probably recommend for you guys to do is create some kind of system to handle them all. Like for example, tag service, or you could have like folders with one script. But for now, this is how it looks. And if we just drag all of these things out into the workspace first, and I've also provided you with a instructions manual here if you don't want to watch the video, but I'm also going to explain everything. So first things first, you want to put this inside of the starter GUI, because that's actually, well, that's where it's supposed to be, and that's where it's going to work. For this instructions, you can just put it in here. You don't have to have this. It's just for your guys' help. So let me explain a bit about these different items. So if we look in this one first, we can see that each of these has one script in them. And as you can see, they're very, very short script. Basically, you just get the replicated storage and you get an event. And wow, I forgot about that. What you guys also will find inside of your actual model is a folder that's called events, and inside of this there's going to be a remote event called inspect event. Now what you do with this one is you will just drag it into the replicated storage, and this will of course be in the model that I provided. However, I just forgot to add it before making this video. All of these objects get this specific event, and when the prompt is triggered, it will fire it. And for these objects, I can actually explain how they're built up. So basically, it's just a bunch of parts, and for these tests, they're all anchored. And one important thing is that they have a primary part. So you need to set the primary part to any part you want. It doesn't really matter. Plus, I can choose, for example, now I can choose the whole. What you then have to do is you have to add a proximity prompt into the primary part. And then you need to add the scripts. And you can just copy one of these scripts depending on what your needs are. But I will put that one in there. So now, when I go to play and pick this little lockup, you will get the inspect. Now, the difference between these three tables, as I showed earlier, is this one actually provides a description and title. And how you do that is, if we look at the difference between these two scripts, this one only fires the player and the actual model, whilst this one fires the player, the model, but also a table, which you can see by these squiggly parentheses or whatever you call them. And it will say description is equal to, and then just a string of text, and then title is equal to another string of text, which I've just put in variables up here. Now, how does this actually translate to getting on your screen? Well, that all happens right here in this client script. And inside of this client script is also the actual module for all the functions. But I will not go into each and every function in this video because you hopefully won't need it. But as you can see all the way up almost, you can see inspect.config. And these are values that I recommend you to change if you want to change anything about the scripts. So for example, you can disable exit on death, which means if you're in an inspect and you die, it basically goes away. And pretty simple. The other one is disable movement. This is how it sounds. It disables the movement if it's true, and if it's false, it just lets you walk. And then the last one, hide prompts. This one basically hides all of the prompts when you're in the inspect. As you can see now, I can still see the prompt and I can still click the prompt. However, nothing will happen. But if you have this set to true, it will hide the prompts while you're inspecting. There we go. And the distance factor, well, it's just how far away the models will be from the camera by default. So right now you can see it's about this big, and this sword is, this sword is about this big when I'm not zooming in and out. If I change this, for example, to 10 to be very extreme, it will look like this. And it's very, very tiny. This next one, well, as you can see, when I play this kind of a small rotational speed, it rotates very slowly while I'm not holding it. So if I increase this to 10, you will see that it will spin very fast. The blur amount was pretty simple. The amount of blur that appears. The zoom smooth time. Basically, I've implemented a kind of smoothing of the zoom. So as you can see, it looks pretty smooth when I zoom, but it also isn't like instantaneous. So if you don't want that, just set this to 0 and you will see that it's a very... Actually, you need to set this to about 100. Then you will see that it's very like snappy, and you can just increase that how much you want. So that's basically the reverse, but it's fine. Zoom step is basically how much it zooms in every time. As you can see here, it snaps kind of, and it's basically how much it snaps. So if I show you, it will snap a lot more now. If I have it set to 10, then it would, if I had it set to 2. If I would increase this one to 100, it would snap really far, which is maybe not that desirable. So let's set this to 2. And these are just the tween infos for the blur, the camera, and the text, which is basically all of the UI in this case. And this module doesn't work by itself. It needs some kind of local script to actually activate it. And this is where the client script that I've created comes into place. This client script basically handles activating the inspect. So as I said earlier, all of the server scripts fire an event inside of Repli storage, inside the events folder that we've created where it's in the model, and this remote events. Now, the on-client event will see when this fires to a specific player, and it will also, we will get the model that was provided through the server script, and the text info, which, if you remember, was when we put it like this, blah blah blah, and the description as well, as you can see in one of these scripts. Description and title, and it's a table, and it will basically check if it's actually currently active. So if we're already in an inspect, or we have a debounce, which is basically a delay to prevent people from spamming the buttons, it will actually enter. So if we're not actually if we are actually in the inspect already, or we have a debounce, we will return, and this basically means that no code past this point will activate. It will just break out. Else it will enter the inspect, and it will create a connection or a button for us to be able to exit it. And in this case, we're using the context action service. This is useful because it works very well with mobile users as well. So I can actually show you by going to the test and device, and select, for example, the iPhone 14 Pro. If I then walk over here and I click on one of these, you can see that we actually get this button down here, which makes it able to exit. And that is all thanks to the context action service. This also gives us the ability to bind it to a keybind, and in this case it's Q. And then I just set a random image, whatever you want, and a position on the screen, also whatever you want. This is the function. As you can see here, it says exit. So when this button is clicked, or when this keybind, it will activate this function. So here we check if we actually right now have a debounce, or if it's not active. Well, if it's not active, then we don't want to exit, so we return. We don't do any of this code. And if there is debounce, well, if there is debounce, then we do not either want to do anything here. We want to exit. Here, we just check if this is the actual bind that we have, and we also check if it's the user state.begin. So this will only trigger once per click. Then we unbind this action, set the debounce true, exit, and set the debounce to false. Now what we do here is basically, we don't want anyone to enter. We never want this function to be activated while we're in this function. So it basically makes sure that if this one, it basically doesn't interfere. But there is some built-in protection like in the modules, so it shouldn't happen anyways, but it's a good practice to not let that happen. As for the actual UI, it's a very basic UI I've created, but you can of course customize it any way you like. However, there might be some things you have to change in the actual module script, which is this one. But basically, what you need to do when you make this script is you need to set all of these UI values that I've put right here. The script needs to know where these are located and what objects these are. So in this client script, I will recommend you to just reference them. So this viewport frame is, of course, a viewport frame, so you can render the objects. This block is basically a way for a workaround for Roblox, so that, for example, in first person, you can actually use the mouse. Oh, you can actually use the mouse instead of it just changing the camera around. And it also prevents any zooming in and out of the actual character camera. And the item frame, well, this is just the main like frame that will fade in and out. So as you can see, if I change the group transparency, you can see these things that actually appear when you inspect. And if you chose to have a description and a title, it will also display this. And this is in the UI.note. So this is also a canvas group. So you can easily fade in and out. And then we have the item name, which is just this thing. It just displays the actual name of the model. And that's about it for the UI wise. So let's actually change this to 1 again. And let's change this to 1 again. And as you can see, here is the blocker I named earlier, and then the viewport frame. They both cover the whole screen. And so right now I'm actually going to show you a bit of an example of what can actually go wrong when you're making one of these models. So I've decided to make this tool again. Now, one problem you might stumble across when handling tools with this system is, oh no, I walked over it, and I picked it up instantly. I didn't want to do that. So now this thing is there, and there's actually two ways of doing this. One, it's just going into the handle and disabling can touch. Now this will actually just make it so that you don't pick it up while walking on it, and you can actually use the systems correctly. But now you may notice that, oh, it actually doesn't work. Why doesn't it work? Well, if we look here, as you can see, there's a part here, and that part has the proximity prompt. But if we look in the primary part of this object, oh, it's not set to the part with the proximity prompt. So let's do that. And now let's see, does this work correctly? Oh, it works, but it's acting very weird. It's not in the center somehow. Well, let me show you another thing. If you go here, and since this is actually using the function pivot to, we need to look at the pivot of this model. And well, now it's right here because this part is not in the center. So if we remove this part, now set this to the primary part, and now look at the pivot. Well, what the hell? It's over here. So how do we get this in the center? Well, we just click this button to reset the pivot, and if we play now, there we go. It works, and it's in the center. And that's basically just how it works. So there's an example for you struggling. Yeah, that's basically it. If you have any questions, feel free to write them in the comments, or if you want more of code help, I would probably DM me on Discord, because it's hard to communicate in a YouTube chat. And yeah, that's about it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in another video. Bye bye.